Hello, my name is Shah, and I'm a solicitor acting for both public and private sector clients. In this podcast, I'll be introducing you to the Modern Slavery Act and its requirements that you need to be aware of. Modern slavery is an umbrella term for people held in slavery, servitude, forced or compulsory labour, or subject to trafficking. It also includes instances of debt bondage and forced marriage. It's estimated that 13,000 people are held as modern slaves in Britain today. Parliament brought into force the Modern Slavery Act 2015 to help tackle the epidemic of modern slavery. The Act introduces two main offences concerning holding a person in slavery, servitude or forced compulsory labour, and arranging or facilitating the travel of another person with a view to that person being exploited. So what, as a business or public body, do you need to be particularly aware of under the Modern Slavery Act 2015? Most notably, Section 54 imposes a requirement on what are called commercial organisations to publish a transparency statement. This targets large UK businesses to report on the steps they've taken to address modern slavery within their global supply chains. The idea is that transparency resulting from the reporting requirement will start a race to the top between competitors in terms of anti-modern slavery standards and reputation. To count as a commercial organisation, your organisation must have a minimum global aggregate turnover, including that of any subsidiaries, of £36 million. This is calculated after the deduction of VAT, trade discounts and any other taxes based on the amounts derived. The Home Office recommends as best practice even organisations with a turnover below that threshold to publish a transparency statement, especially where they are using higher risk supply chains. It's also best practice to publish a transparency statement if your business is likely to bid for contracts let by public authorities, since any competitors whose turnover meets the £36 million threshold will have published these themselves. Over 50% of those that are required to publish a statement under Section 54 have not yet done so. If you're one of these, therefore, you're not alone, but you need to think now about putting this in place. So what exactly counts as a commercial organisation for the purposes of the Act? The legislation defines it as a body corporate or partnership with a global turnover of £36 million, which provides goods or services to the UK market. This would suggest that it covers not only businesses operating in the private sector, but also not-for-profit organisations, such as charities, voluntary sector associations, educational institutions, and other similar bodies. The Home Office's guidance also suggests that public bodies are included within the meaning of Section 54. Although there is a private members' bill which suggests that local authorities haven't already been included within the existing definition of commercial organisations, considering that local authorities are bodies corporate, for example by royal charter or under statute, and provide certain services directly rather than through outsourcing, any local authority with a turnover of at least £36 million may well already be caught under the Act. The Home Office's guidance states that commercial organisations includes those organisations that are performing purely public functions. This means that local authorities in excess of the £36 million turnover should seek to ensure they have a statement on their website. In any case, publishing a statement is best practice for local authorities and has been encouraged in a recent guide published by the Local Government Association, the link to which is on the slide. So how exactly do you write a transparency statement? The government hasn't been prescriptive in deciding this. There's no official format in how the statement should be structured, but the Home Office's guidance does include helpful pointers. The statement must focus on providing transparency as a public-facing document. It should be publicly accessible, and the Act obliges organisations to keep it on their website in a prominent location such as the homepage. The statement should focus on the organisation's structure, business sectors and supply chains, identifying particular risk areas which need targeting and the steps they are taking to investigate. It should list the policies in relation to slavery and human trafficking and explain the steps the organisation has taken to conduct due diligence and identify areas of business at high risk from supply through modern slavery. If you're a local authority, you're not finished there. Local authorities are instrumental in the fight against modern slavery by reporting victims to the National Referral Mechanism, or NRM. Section 52 imposes a duty on all local authorities to identify and refer child victims and consenting adult victims of modern slavery through the NRM using the NRM form, and to notify the Home Secretary of non-consenting or uncontactable potential adult victims using the MS1 form. Local authorities are also required under Section 43 of the Act to cooperate with the Independent Anti-Slavery Commissioner. Finally, the Modern Slavery Act should not be considered in a vacuum. It should be looked at in the wider context of human rights. If you're a commercial business, you need to consider how your anti-slavery policies interrelate with other non-financial reporting duties. For example, the regulations mentioned on the slide, which amend the Companies Act 2006, require private companies caught by them to prepare a non-financial information statement as part of their strategic report. If you're a local authority, you should consider other related statutory duties, such as the child and adult safeguarding obligations under the legislation listed on the slide. For example, Section 42 of the CARE Act imposes a duty to make inquiries where certain instances of adult exploitation are suspected to be taking place. It's worth noting that a child does not have capacity to make informed consent to instances where they're being trafficked or forced into labour. Another example is the duty on local authorities under the Crime and Disorder Act 1998 to do all they reasonably can to prevent and disrupt crime in their local area. That's all we have time for in this introductory podcast. Thanks for listening.